everybody, my name is Kyle3639. Welcome back to another video. Today, in this one, is going to be another top 5 video, and in this one, we're going to be doing the top 5 hand traps in the May of 2021 format. So, I've already done a top 5 decks in the May 2020 format. If you want to I'll put that in the link in the description down below if you do want to watch that. But in this one, we're just going to be specifically covering hand traps. As if you did see the the top 5 meta decks, I did not include hand traps in like the meta cards and stuff like that. That's because I wanted specifically to do a top 5 on it, because there is a lot of hand traps that get played in today's current meta, and I'm here to rank the best 5 of them. So how am I going to be ranking them? Be ranking them based on how many times it gets used, like which one gets used more often than the other, which one can basically end turns if it is activated, and then just like if it can be activated all the time kind of thing. So yeah, without further ado though, let's get straight into the top 5. Before we get into the top 5, however, we must cover the honorable mentions real quick. So the first one we're going to be covering is Skullmeister. Now, Skullmeister, again, is a very, very good hand trap. So both honorable mentions are very good hand traps. You can very much argue that. But why I have it at just as an honorable mention is because, you know, it's only specifically for the graveyard. Now, that's not that much of a problem, thanks, because a lot of cards do activate in the graveyard nowadays. That means that's why Skullmeister does see play in today's current meta. But just compared to all the other cards, where most of all the other cards can activate anytime they want, as long as there's some activation requirement to the thing, is very good. But just specifically, since this thing needs to be in the graveyard, if you verse a deck like Zodiac, Skullmeister is basically dead because they really don't activate anything in graveyard. So yeah, so there's some decks where it's very good against, and there's some decks that just it's absolutely not going to do anything. It is an honorable mention. Yes, it's a very good hand trap, but I don't think it's going to crack the top 5 whatsoever. Our next honorable mention goes to Ghostbelle. Now, why do I have Ghostbelle as an honorable mention? Kind of for the same reasons as Skullmeister. It's not always active. Ghostbelle has to, for its effect to go through, you have to add cards from graveyard back to hand, deck, or extra deck, spell summon a monster from graveyard, or banish a card from graveyard. So this thing can stop things like Monster Reborn. It can stop things like Pot of Avarice. It can stop things like, what else? I have it, Monster Reborn. No, DD Crow, vanishing and stuff like that. So yeah, it can stop those type of cards, but it's not, again, it's not like always active, and that's kind of the thing. That's why Ghostbelle is an honorable mention. The same thing as goes for Skullmeister. Has to be kind of a graveyard-based thing. Now, yes, those things exist, but compared to all the other hand traps in the top 5, I think the hand traps in the top 5 are just better than what Ghostbelle and Skullmeister can offer. But that is it for this honorable mention. Now let's get into our last honorable mention. And then our second honorable mention is Infinite Impermanence. This was close to actually making the top 5, but if I put Skullmeister specifically on the honorable mention because it only goes graveyard, I need to put Imperm because it only specifically goes for on-field effects. So Infinite Imperm is a very good card because it's a trap card. So if you end up going second, you can actually just end up using it because it has an effect where if you have control no cards on the field, you can activate it on from your hand kind of thing. So that's why it's a hand trap. And then if you go first and you end up drawing this, you can set one, still get that negation off during your opponent's turn as well. But the reason why I have it as just an honorable mention is because the card needs to specifically be on field for its effect to get negated here. So that's unfortunate, especially when there's a couple things in the meta that can activate from hand or graveyard kind of thing. That's why I have Infinite Imperm at an honorable mention. It was close to making the top 5, but it unfortunately will only make honorable mention. If we were talking about the last format, however, this wouldn't even be an honorable mention because last format was kind of ridiculous. Didn't really activate anything from hand. But in this format, you know, Dragon Link and stuff like that, well, not even Prank Kids, but yeah, Infinite Impermanence is an honorable mention here. Unfortunate, it's a very good card, but yeah, it's going to be an honorable mention. But however, let's get into the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Droll Lockbird, and for a card that does an absolutely ridiculous effect, it's really surprising it comes in at number 5. Now, this has been in side decks because of Dragon Link, and that's about it. If you don't know what the effect of Droll and Lockbird does, if it's a card is added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except during the draw phase, quick effect, send this card from your hand to the graveyard for the rest of the turn. Cards cannot be added from either player's main deck to hand. So basically, if this can shut down decks that add cards deck to hand very often, such as like Dragon Link or Drytrons and stuff like that. But right now in the current format, Droll and Lockbird, even though it's a ridiculous effect, just isn't could be used as much. It's always going to have something, but it seems like the control decks usually only add once or twice a turn or kind of thing. Dragon Link does add a lot, and that's like the only card, and that's like the only deck that Droll and Lockbird can really stop right now. But all the other meta decks can only add like once or twice anyways, so Droll and Lockbird doesn't really affect them as much. So I have it at number 5. It's a ridiculous effect, but I think compared to the other 4 gets used more often than Droll and Lockbird and has more uses than Droll and Lockbird in today's current format. So yeah, Droll and Lockbird, ridiculous effect, but currently in the format, not the most used hand. Coming in at number 4, it's Artifact Lancia. Oh boy, this has been a really good one. Now, Artifact Lancia, if you don't know its effect, so during your opponent's turn, you can tribute this card from your hand or face up on field. Neither player can banish cards for the rest of the turn, and this is a quick effect. So very, very interesting. So you can only activate during your opponent's turn, so it's very much just like kind of like an effect vader, only can activate it during your opponent's turn kind of thing. But it's very good. If you verse it against the right decks, things like Virtual World, things like dinosaurs, especially dinosaurs. Tri-Brigade has been a deck that's slowly been moving up in the format. Lancia could stop that because they have to banish to get their Link monsters out and stuff like that. So Lancia is a very good card right now. It's a very, very good card. It's not good against all decks. Dragon Link doesn't really need a banish. It does banish, but it doesn't need a banish for it to get its combo off, unlike dinosaurs or something like that. You can use this against Shaddolls and stuff to prevent them from going to like Invocation or something like that. But even then, it could they can still get up a good board kind of thing. So Artifact Lancia, against the good some decks it's very good, but other decks it's just not really worth playing. So it comes in at number 4 for that reason. But for the decks it can stop, oh boy, it's a really powerful card. But the decks that it doesn't stop, man oh man, it does nothing against those decks. So yes, this comes in at number 4. Coming in at number 3 is Phantasme. Man, this has been a really good card as of late. It hasn't seen that much play in the past couple months, but now in this format specifically has finally came back up. And that's thanks because Dragon Link is the number 1 meta deck right now. But if you don't know what this card effect does, is if your opponent spell summons a Link monster except during the damage step, you can spell summon this card from your hand. Draw a card equal to the number of Draw a card equal to the number of Link monsters your opponent controls plus 1. Then shuffle cards from your hand to your deck. Or my bad. Then shuffle. This is really bad. Really small text. Then shuffle cards from your hand into the deck equal to the number of Link monsters they control. So basically, if they control 1 Link monster, you can spell summon himself, draw 2 cards, and then put 1 back because they control 1. So basically, this is like hand neutral. I think the hand neutral, because he spell summon himself, that's 4 cards in hand, draw 2, that's 6, put 1 back, that's 5. Yeah, so basically, this lets you kind of mulligan just a little bit, because you can spell summon this, let you draw 2 cards, and then put 1 card back that you don't want in your hand back into the deck, and make your hand just a little bit more better to counteract that board. Now, Phantasme does have a negation effect as well as when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster you control. Quick effect, discard 1 card, negate the activation. If you do, destroy it. So the Phantasme also has that effect going for it as well, but it's more played because of that top effect of, when your opponent summons a Link monster, plus summon that, draw the cards, and then put 1 back. Now, that comes up a lot because Dragon League, of course, plays a shit ton of Link monsters, so Phantasme is good for that. Prank Kids actually play Link monsters as well for a control deck. That's actually very good. Phantasme, you can actually play against that. You would think control decks wouldn't, be affected by Phantasme, but it does come up. Basically all the decks in the current meta play some sort of Link monsters in their extra deck. So Phantasme does come up. It doesn't come up as often if you control decks, but it can come up. Prank Kids even invoked Shaddolls, a deck you don't think you would play something Link monsters actually play Magistus, and Magistus is a Link monster, and then Phantasme, can let you draw that card and stuff. So it's very, very interesting. The only deck this can't stop is like Dinosaurs, because they really don't play Link monsters. But that's because they really don't go into their extra deck that often. But that's about it. Every other deck the Phantasme can be used against. So yeah, Phantasme comes in at number 3. Very, very, very good. Coming in at number 2 is Nibiru, the Primal Being. Yep, Nibiru is a fucking fantastic card, and probably never will as long as they're combo decks in the format, or at least a control deck or a deck that summons 5 times or more a turn, which in the current meta right now, that's nearly every single deck. So yeah, Nibiru is a very good card. If you don't know what it does, during the main phase, your opponent normals or special summons 5 or more monsters. Quick effect, attribute as many face-up monsters on the field as possible. If you do special summon this card, and then you give your opponent a Nibiru, the Primal Being token, and then that attack and defense will equal all the monsters that were tributed on the field for Nibiru to special summon himself. So yeah, Nibiru, a very interesting card. So basically how you play Nibiru, you wait until your opponent sets up a lot of monsters on their board, you Nibiru them, clear their field, and they basically have nothing else after that, and they kind of have to pass turn back to you. It's a very good card against Dragon Link, it's a very good card against Prank Kids, it's a very good card against, I think those are the, just basically any combo deck. Invoke Dogmatica, Invoke Shaddoll can probably get Mechabo before Nibiru hits the board, but if they don't, I guess Nibiru can play it against that. Eldritch just does not summon that many times for Nibiru to even matter for them. And then Dinosaurs or Miscellaneous Source exists, so Nibiru does nothing against that deck, unfortunately. So yeah, that's why it comes in at number 2. It's a very powerful effect, but there are some decks in the format that Nibiru does absolutely nothing against. So that's why it comes in at number 2. But Nibiru, a very, very powerful card. And then coming in at number 1, of course it had to be, it's Ash Blossom. So if you don't know what Ash Blossom's effect does, when a card effect activates, including any of these effects, quick effect, discard this card, negate the activation. So if any of these add a card from deck to hand, special summon from deck, or send a card from deck to graveyard, you can discard this card to negate those activations. Now, here's the thing with Ash Blossom, unlike all the other hand traps. Ash Blossom can go for every deck in the Sacred Curve format. Now, would it, end their turn kind of thing? No. But Ash Blossom can slow them down and can be used against every single deck in the current format. Dragon Link adds a shit ton of times from deck to hand. It also can special summon from deck. You can also send a card from deck to graveyard. Can fulfill all 3 of those requirements. Invoked Shaddoll basically does the same thing as Dragon Link. Has all 3 that you can basically do. What else? There's Dinosaurs. Yeah, they basically fulfill the conditions as well. Eldritch as well, even though you wouldn't think that, was set 5 cards past turn. Ash Blossom can actually stop some of those cards they control. And then Prank Kids as well, yeah, same thing that goes for there. They can, Ash Blossom can definitely stop that, especially the Prank Kids effects in Graveyard. Ash Blossom can stop that because they do special summon from deck, so Ash Blossom can stop those. So yeah, Ash Blossom, very, very good card. Doesn't end turns necessarily, but it can slow down turns. It's basically, you can use this card in your main deck, because whatever deck you're versing, Ash Blossom will most likely have an effect that negates one of their effects. So Ash Blossom does definitely come in at number 1. I think this is going to be staying at number 1 for a long time, unless a certain card comes off the ban list called Max C, but that probably won't happen just for a little bit. So Ash Blossom does reign supreme as number 1. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more content on the channel. I do upload every single day, except for Saturday and Sunday. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.